Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evoazy, and welcome to the Arizona Monthly Market Housing Update with Matt and Katie, where you learn all about the greater Phoenix area housing market, including information on interest rates, what's happening with housing prices, and tips and tricks for buyers and sellers. Please like, subscribe, and download our episode so that we can continue to get this real news out to the real people.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Katie and
Matt
and
Ryan,
what's up, guys?
morning. Happy
Morning.
end of the month. I can't believe December's tomorrow.
It's unreal. Actually, I feel like October just started. Anybody else feel like that?
I'm preparing for Halloween right now. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's with all the Christmas lights? I don't get it. But time does fly, and lots has happened in the last month on the rate front, Ryan. Let's dive right into that.
Yeah. Speaking of October, it was a tough month for mortgage rates. Interest rates they hit 23-year highs on October 25th. Conventional went up to an 8.375% on a 30-year fixed. It was hard telling people that on the phone. That hearing 8%,
Yeah.
definitely some sticker shock.
Yeah.
Government loans, they're always a little lower because of the mortgage insurance. They hit about a 7.5% for FHA and VA. So since then, we have seen a significant drop in rates. Conventional is now down to a 7.5%, and government dropped to a 6.5%. So, we saw such a big drop in rates because we're finally seeing a big drop in inflation. Remember, mortgage rates are strongly linked to inflation figures. And even today, we just got the report. It's 3% right now on the PCE inflation report. And that was from a high of 9% in 2022. So a big drop. Yeah. Wow.
Giant.
And on top of this, we're starting to see signs of a slowing economy, as hiring, job creations, wage growth, and even spending are dropping even during the holidays, So many feel this will pressure the Federal Reserve to continue pausing their rate hikes and maybe even cutting them in 2024. The Federal Reserve had a difficult task of lowering inflation from that 9% highs to really their 2% target, all without crashing the economy, and we're close now. We're at the 3%, very close to their target. So they've been careful, to decide when to start rate cuts to not force us into a recession. But, seeing spending slowing and inflation dropping and now even hinting at rate cuts in 2024. Bottom line, that was all good news for mortgage rates and why we saw a drop and why we should continue to see that in the next year.
Totally agree. And how did that fare with your applications?
Yeah, they showed nationally. Let me see. I think they reported at the National Bankers Association or Mortgage Bankers Association. They said purchase applications jumped 5% over the past few weeks, and we're feeling that as well. My team alone, we're probably up about 20% from October when things did really slow down quite a bit. So we're starting to see that optimism. And speaking of optimism, as I said, rates lowering into next year. We're starting to see now that we're in, going to be in December tomorrow. We're starting to see more and more predictions coming out. Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist with the National Association of Realtors, he forecasts conventional mortgage rates will fall to about between a 6 and 7% by spring of 2024. Remember that they're at about a 7.5 right now. And the National Association of Mortgage Bankers, they're predicting that they'll be at about a 6.3 by the end of the summer. So again, we're at 7.5 now conventional. This would mean FHA rates in the mid fives to mid sixes. They're in the mid sixes right now. So really, a lot of optimism with where things are heading next year. So that's where a lot of the predictions are. And these two, associations are, pretty spot on with a lot of their predictions. So it's very encouraging to see that.
Yeah, that is super encouraging. And I know that there are a lot of buyers that are welcoming the relief in, the interest rates for sure. And we're just kind of dealing with a really strange market right now, I feel like. And, where we have buyers personally with our team, we have buyers that are kind of sitting the fence waiting to see what happens. We have some that are, out there making offers on everything that they can. And it's really strange because we're seeing some areas of the valley that have multiple offers still. In fact, we have buyers that have been dealing with multiple offers in some specific cities in the East Valley even right now, even with, coming up on holidays where we typically see that seasonal slowdown.
Absolutely. And, I think it's interesting how we see the inventory responding, to everything that Ryan just said, what we've seen with rates, and then ultimately what we're seeing with, buyers' demands, what's motivating that. I think in markets like this, the average buyer, especially if you're on the newer side of things, is you almost need that like support that other people are doing it. It's pretty nerve-wracking if you're like, hi, I'm the only one doing this. So we quickly see that like snowball. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing, these kind of waves. And considering inventory just dropped in Metro Phoenix for the first time in 2 months, on Wednesday when I pulled my report, that was great. It was down 1.4% in the last 7 days, which for the last 2 months we've been actually going up in inventory, an average of 2.6 each week. So, that's good. I'm optimistic, and I know that sometimes it probably drives a lot of people crazy, but if I look at this and I say, hey, where have I seen this before? Last year.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing happen when we were coming out of the summer with rates much higher than we were used to in the spring of, 2022. And we're like, oh my gosh, they're raising. We saw inventory go up almost 100% in a short amount of time. And then it just stopped. It stopped pretty much right where we're at the end of November of 2022. And then it just continued to drop, and it dropped over 50%. So I think we're kind of just modeling and kind of following the same thing we saw last year.
I totally agree. And I remember December and January of last year being much busier than September, October, November. And it seems like exactly like what you're saying. It seems like that's kind of what's happening again.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is good to think about, especially if you're buying, because last year was like the year that was, really uncertain, where people even started jumping in because they're like, where is this going? How is this going? What's going to happen with inflation? How long is this going to continue? Where now we've seen it. And I really think that this is an indicator that we're only going to see rates kind of continually drop. Obviously, we're going to see some volatility. There's a lot of indicator and contributing factors, like Ryan said. But that being said, like if you're really looking to find that home, like they say, date the rate, marry the home. This is the time to really start focusing, because where we're at in inventory, it will snowball quickly. If rates drop and buyer, needs pick up, we could see that really dry up quickly. And therefore you're going to be seeing a much stronger seller's market.
I totally agree. And I feel like there are actually, I know because because we are, out there working with buyers and sellers, but also Armless just reported this. There are a couple of cities or suburbs of Phoenix that are actually in a buyer's market right now. So it's really weird. So we have some that are still in a seller's market. We have some that are in a balanced market, and we have some that are in a buyer's market. So if you are a buyer looking to get the most bang for your buck, then, you might want to look at these cities that are in a buyer's market right now. Let me share my screen here. I'll show you what Armless reported. So as of November 9th, and this is again taken from the stat report that Armless sends out once a month, the following cities are in buyer's markets: Surprise, Litchfield Park, Goodyear, Buckeye, Maricopa, Casa Grande, Gold Canyon, and Queen Creek. So kind of the outer lying, some of the outer lying suburbs there. Balanced markets are Cave Creek, Peoria, and Sun City. All others are still sellers markets, but weakening fast. And that's as of November 9th. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I think it is too. And obviously, like you said, that's from November 9th. We're now 30 days ahead. And as we all know, in this market in the last 12 months, a lot can happen in 30 days.
well, right. And I'm trying to think, is November 9th before we saw that kind of big plummet in the rates?
Yeah,
it was. Yes, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see how things change with the figures next month. And kind of piggybacking on everything you guys are saying, it's interesting just how activity has picked up, and just there's more of an optimism with the people that we're speaking to right now. It does have a lot to do with the interest rates, but it has a lot to do with everybody kind of getting better deals right now,
Yeah.
because the people who are selling during the holidays, during November and December, they're usually selling because they have to for a reason. It's not a popular time to usually list your home. So these people, because there's not as much of a buyer pool out there, we're seeing much more seller concessions, where sellers are covering closing costs or maybe even dropping the price a little bit, paying for rate buy downs, So we're seeing a lot more contracts right now with, some sellers, especially in those markets that you're talking about that are still buyer's market, giving a lot more away. And people are starting to see that now. And that's getting a little bit more people off the fence.
Yeah.
I agree. There's definitely some opportunity for buyers out there in this market. Are you still seeing rate buy downs and things like that as often as we were a couple of months ago?
We're seeing more people asking for the rate buy downs, but usually when I kind of outline where rates are expected to be, just like Matt said, where you marry the house but date the rate, just know that rates are going to continue to drop, and there might be an opportunity to refinance next year, and instead of using that money to buy down the rate, maybe getting a lower purchase price, or maybe just covering your closing costs. So a lot of people are more so expecting to refinance as things go down because they are expecting for things to get better.
I just had that discussion with a buyer yesterday, actually. Seasoned guy, has owned 50 investment properties at some point in his life. So he knows what he's doing. And that's what he said. He said, we talked about a rate buy down because they're looking to get some relief in their payments. So we were talking about options. But he said, you know what? At the end of the day, I know that rates are going to come down. I know I'm going to be able to refinance this thing. I would rather get my benefit in the price of the house, or, closing costs paid, or repairs, or something like that. So we definitely are having those conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. The last thing you want to do is kind of waste that money, because it gets you an opportunity where you could refinance and it's at the same rate that you bought it down to. And if you do refinance, you're going to kind of throw that money away, that buy down money. So a lot of times it's better spent, given where rates are going to be heading, just to maybe lower your purchase price or just go straight towards closing costs and wait and not do that buy down. So he's absolutely right.
Yeah. And I like this time of year right now because, again, I mean, this is obviously the topic that we've been talking about here, but buyers have some opportunity right now.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing and seeing, and where our inventory levels are, and from what I know from the last, 20 years of being in this business, I feel like prices are not going to plummet like some people are saying. I'm seeing these YouTube videos that we're going to crash, and we're already crashing, and don't buy now. Wait until prices are half the price that they are now. And I'm like, where is this even coming from? This has got to be clickbait.
It is.
It's interesting because it really depends on how you look at the numbers. No matter how you read reports, you could kind of skew it in a certain way to get that clickbait, because some places are actually showing that median home prices nationally dropped about 17% year over year. But when you dig deeper into the numbers, that really has to do with the collection of homes that are being sold. Most homes that are being sold right now are between 200 and 500. And the homes that are dropping, that many people aren't buying right now, are the ones that are higher than 500,000.
Right.
So of course, the middle of that is going to show a little bit of a drop. But if you actually look at a lot of the reports out there from like Case-Shiller, FHFA, CoreLogic, Zillow, they're all showing that prices are actually going up in August and September, anywhere between 0.2 and 0.9%. So like you said, it's everybody kind of has a little bit of an angle to try to get that clickbait. But when you really dig into the numbers, nationally, prices are going up still.
Absolutely. And if you think about who's actually selling in these markets, you know what I mean? And especially in those price points that you were talking about, most people have a locked low rate. So therefore, the ones that are truly selling in this market, they have to sell. And it's usually in an unforeseen circumstance, something they can't control. So we're really basing this metric off of like the unfortunate, small, minute portion of what's really happening. It's not like everyone's saying, oh, we're just accepting this price. This is what's happening. No, it's usually people are like, we have to sell. We got to do this quick, pull the Band-Aid. Where if everyone was going to have to sell, they'd be patient. They'd be like, I'm holding off for my price. I'm not going to drop. So I think that's also a good piece of this.
And I think it's important to share this one last little slide that I have here. Kind of speaks to what you were saying, Ryan. And this one's from Keeping Current Matters. Their source is HPES. And this is the estimated home price performance, year over year, December to December. And it's showing 2023 through 2027. 2023, they're predicting a 3.32%, 2024, a 2.17%. 2025, they're predicting 3.24%, 2026, 3.79%. I'm reading it for those that are listening. And for 2027, 4.18%. So I don't see our prices going south too fast, too far anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. And I think one of the things, just to kind of piggyback on that, and something we've always put weight on for kind of looking into the future, and that's always been new builds.
Yeah.
When we're looking at, especially states like our own, where, we've always kind of been behind the curve when it came to housing, and we're a place where a lot of new builders are coming, because of the rate of people that are moving here. You would have figured, okay, hey, if we're going to get hurt, that's where we're going to get hurt first. We're going to see whoever's building drop their prices, adjust to make sure that their model works, like we saw in 2006, where it was just devastating. Well, they learned a lot. And a new report that just came out, it said, while the rest of the nation's new home sales fell 5.6% in October, they actually increased in the Valley here in Phoenix. So I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot about our demand, but it also says a lot about how our builders are approaching markets like this with volatility. They didn't set themselves up to be way over leveraged that they just had to start chopping stuff off and lowering prices. No, they did it through incentives. And honestly, surviving last year and where they're at now, showing these stats, I think that says a lot. I think it says that, hey, yeah, this was Arizona's kind of recovery year, 2023. That's why we did see things kind of soften more than some parts of the nation. But you got to remember, we were the first ones to see that accelerate in 2020. We've always been leading the nation. So I think that's one of the things that we got to look at and say, whoa, is this a really good indicator that, we've seen the bottom, and now, to what you were saying in your graph, Kate, this is where we're really going to only see things kind of go up from here. And those numbers could be low based on many, many factors.
Well, right. But we're, and it's low based on what we saw in 2020 and 2021, obviously. But I definitely agree with this information. And like you said, the numbers could be different. Obviously, they're predicting, the next 4 years. But from what I'm seeing, I agree with it. And I think now is a really great time for buyers to jump in and still have the opportunity to negotiate, because it's not a fun market when you're wanting to buy and you're wanting to get something and there's, 25 people that all want the same house. It's just not a fun market. So take advantage of what's happening right now.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, you want to get off the fence early before everybody else gets off the fence when rates go down. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, do you want to go after something when everybody else is going after it, or when not so many people are going after it? I don't know. I like the not so many people part, because I feel like I can negotiate more. I can get a better deal. So
Yeah.
Get those incentives, like you guys said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other advice for our buyers and sellers out there, guys, as we move into the holiday season?
Well, have a great holiday season.
Yeah, have a great holiday season. Keep your eye on things. That's the best. That's the best thing I can say. This is usually a great time to consider purchasing, because a lot of people aren't. People that are selling during the holidays and usually putting new listings on, that's usually because they need to sell. Why would anyone else list during this time? So it's unfortunate for those sellers, but it's a good time for those buyers. So even those sellers, make sure that you're getting the right representation in these times of desperation if you have to sell, because you want someone kind of leading you to make sure that you don't become too emotional and just give up everything when you don't need to.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Matt and Katie, by the way, that's right there. You want to have them on your team.
Got the team here right in front of you to do that. Well, thanks, guys. And I love your advice, Matt. Definitely keep an eye on things, guys. Keep, an eye on not just the clickbait, headlines that we talk about often on this show, but the actual real news, the real statistics. If you follow us, so hop on over to our YouTube channel. It is at Team Evoazy. That is our handle. Click on the little bell there. You will get the notifications, subscribe, do all the things. And you will receive a monthly market update just like this, with local stats, with local real stats and advice, so that you can keep an eye on the market. There is also another playlist on that YouTube channel if you scroll down just a little bit, and that is the weekly rate update. That's going to give you a lot of information, including Ryan's rates every week, so that you can keep an eye on that. And what I love about that is it's not just the rate reporting, but it's the why. So why are the rates the way they are? And then we even throw in some little predictions here and there. So keep an eye on that, so that way you can keep your homeowning pencil sharp. And if you are more of the podcast type, maybe you run a lot, walk a lot, bike a lot, all those things, hop on over to your favorite podcast platform, do a quick search for Arizona Real Estate Radio. And if you download and do all the things there, then you will be notified every time we have a new show. Thank you guys so much. We will see you next month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.